Alright y'all, we're back with the second installment of the 3 for 30 series. This series, for those who might not know, is basically just an excuse for me to talk about every NBA team and what their offseason is going to hold for them this year. As you can see, we got the whiteboard back in action, and if you can read it, today's team is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to be going over my 3 main points of what to look for them this offseason. So, getting into it, the Cavaliers finished the season 19-46 in the shortened season, and the first point that I'm going to be talking about for them today is new coach JB Bickerstaff. Now, Bickerstaff, he took over late in the season. He led them to a 5-6 record before the season was stopped due to the pandemic and COVID and everything. He took over after Coach Bayline had a pretty suboptimal performance for the Cavaliers this year. A lot of the players did not like him, so I would bet that a bunch of them were happy to see that Bickerstaff took over and will maintain control going into next season. Now, a little bit of history on JB Bickerstaff. He's had 2 other head coaching jobs before this one. First one was in 2015-2016 with the Houston Rockets. He led them to an 8th seed. He also took over that job earlier in the season, though, after Kevin McHale was fired after the first 10 games or so. But he led the Rockets. James Harden was the only real, quality player on that team, and they made it to the 8th seed where they eventually lost in 5 games to the Warriors. After that, he went to JB Bickerstaff went to the Grizzlies for the 2017-2018 season, and he finished 15-48 that year, again taking over after another head coach firing. And that year Mike Conley was hurt. A lot of players were in and out for the Grizzlies. They didn't make the playoffs. They finished near the bottom of the conference. And then he maintained the head coaching job for the next season. Grizzlies went 33-49. That was last season when Gasol got traded, and again, a lot of just moving pieces for the Grizzlies. So then he came to Cleveland, and he now has the head coaching job there. Now, I don't think that he's going to necessarily be a championship quality coach. I don't see him taking this Cavaliers team deep into the playoffs, even to the playoffs at all. But the players seem to like him. If the Cavaliers can just keep on developing, I don't see an issue with keeping him as the head coach for now. Just know he probably won't be there for too long, as once the Cavs are back in contention, I could easily see them going a different way and looking for a better, more foundational coach who's already won some games in the past. Now, the second point that I'd like to talk about for the Cleveland Cavaliers offseason is their free agency. And they do have some players who will be entering free agency. Tristan Thompson's the only really big name that you need to worry about. He had a pretty large contract with the Cavaliers from the LeBron days, and it's now set to end after the season. And I don't see the Cleveland Cavaliers bringing him back, mainly due to the fact that Andre Drummond has a $28 million player option, and I don't see any way at all that he will decline that and enter free agency himself. I 100% expect him to take that extra year with the team. And as for how Tristan Thompson will fare in free agency, I can't really see any team giving him any more than a 7-figure deal. It'll be somewhere in the low millions. Will there be a team out there who signs him? Probably, just because Tristan Thompson is an NBA caliber player. Will it be noteworthy or any big news when he does sign? Probably not, but he is a rotational type player. In regards to potential incoming free agents, there's been a lot of noise around the Cavaliers trying to bring in a starting caliber wing, someone who is better than current starting small forward Cedi Osman, and who can play alongside a lot of good offensive players like Kevin Love, Darius Garland, and Colin Sexton. A few guys who I think would be a really great fit for the Cavs to go after, who won't be incredibly expensive. Guys like Justin Holiday, Wesley Iwundo, or Torrey Craig even though he's a little up there in age. All 3 of those guys are plus defenders. They can all shoot the ball decently enough where, if they're left open, they can hit the 3. Other names who might be a slightly worse fit include Josh Jackson, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, and Danilo Gallinari. I know Gallinari has been a very popular name coming up in relation to the Cavs. I personally don't see why they'd want to bring on another offensively minded player when they already have a ton of young talent and Kevin Love who can score from the wing and in the post down low. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but if it does happen, it won't be the worst thing for the Cavaliers, and also he'll be a bit more expensive than some of these other options. And then a few other names if they really miss out. Maurice Harkless, Markieff Morris, maybe even a Marcus Morris, although I don't know why he'd want to play in Cleveland if he didn't want to play in New York or San Antonio, but some options are open for the Cavaliers. Like I said, they're probably just looking for a good defender who can play alongside these other great talents that they already have and are trying to build around. They're looking for something short term, and if it happens to be long term, then so be it. And that brings us to point number 3 on the board, is the young talent on the Cavaliers roster. Over the past couple of drafts, they have stocked up on some great offensive players. The names like Darius Garland, who they just selected this past draft, seems to be really shifty. He seems like he's going to be able to mature and grow into the point guard role for this team. They have Kevin Porter Jr., who statistically might not look like he might have done a lot for them this season, but again, another rookie from this past draft. He showed some great scoring ability, and just he's going to be a great 6-man potentially, or just score off the bench in general. But the main guy I wanted to talk about was Colin Sexton, who was taken 2 drafts ago, I believe, 2 or 3 drafts ago. And I really like Sexton coming out of the draft. I thought he had a great motor and was going to fare well in the league. And it was unfortunate that a lot of fans wrote him off early in his career after some early struggles. But, I mean, who wouldn't have struggled on a post-LeBron Cavs team who really had no one left to... I mean, he had literally zero talent other than Kevin Love, and Kevin Love was out and injured and was holding out for some strange reason amidst trade rumors and free agency rumors, so there really just wasn't a whole lot going for Colin Sexton. But if you look at what he was doing post All-Star break this year, he was averaging 25 points per game, 4 assists per game, 3 rebounds per game, a steal per game, all of that on 52, 43, 80% shooting splits. So for those that don't know, it's 52% from the field, 43% from 3, and 8% from the foul line. And those are tremendous numbers. If he can take any of that and extrapolate that to next season or even further, there's no seeing why Colin Sexton couldn't make a few All-Star teams in his career. This is with the added bonus too, that if Sexton can emerge as being a number 1 or even number 2 type scorer on this Cavs team, if you support him with Darius Garland and Kevin Porter Jr., who can definitely be, tertiary or even just a good scorer off the bench, like I mentioned with Kevin Porter, then that puts you in a state where if you can surround those 3 guys with plus defenders, the 3-and-D types, a good rim protector, and then you just get one good closer, maybe like a DeMar DeRozan, someone like that on your team, then, I mean, this is a team that could easily make some noise in the coming years. It's just a matter of the Cavaliers front office continuing to make good process, continuing to develop their players. And again, that's why it's important, going back to the first point with JB Bickerstaff, he seems to be a coach that the players trust, and that's what you really want from an organization as you're rebuilding. You can look to the Nets with Kenny Atkinson, or even the Thunder with Billy Donovan this year. I mean, they had him develop up some players. I know CP3 had a lot in that particular situation too, but it's important to have guys who trust the front office, who want to grow and develop with that front office. I think the Cavs are in a good spot right now, even though they did finish second to last in the league this season, but there's only good things coming for them. And that will do it for the Cleveland Cavalier offseason preview, this episode of the 3 for 30. As always, comment down below with your opinions. What do you think I'm right on? What do you think I'm wrong on? Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and thank you.